In this video, we will talk about how to multiply numbers in base 5. So I have two examples for us to work through here. Let's check out the first example. We have 1, 4 times 2, 3. And I've written a little 5 next to each value to indicate that it's in the base 5 system. So how can we perform this multiplication? Well, we'll start just like normal multiplication where we'll say, okay, what is 4 times 3? Well, that's 12. So here's the trick. In a base 5 system, if we multiply two values together and we get a value that's 5 or greater, we then have to ask ourselves, okay, how many 5s actually go into that value? So we said we just got 4 times 3, that's 12. So we're asking ourselves, how many 5s go into 12? Well, that would be 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, so we can subtract a 10, so we're just doing a little long division here. 12 minus 10, that's 2. Notice there's no numbers to bring down here, so this 2 represents our remainder. So we'll say remainder of 2. Now here's the trick. The remainder that we get right here, this is the value that we write right here. And the whole number that we got from the division, so this 2 right here, gets added to the next column. Okay, so now we repeat the process. 3 times 1 plus 2. That would be 3 plus 2, which is 5. So we got a number that's 5 or greater, so we have to ask ourselves, how many 5s go into that number? Well, how many 5s go into 5? That would just be 1. So 5 times 1 is 5, so we get to say 5 minus 5, that's 0. So this 0 represents our remainder, so we'll write remainder 0. And remember the trick, the remainder that we get is what we write right here. The whole number that we get from the division will be added to the next column. So this 1 gets added to this column. So lastly, we have 1 plus 0, so we'll just bring that down and write a 1. Okay, next we'll work on the 2, so we'll add a placeholder 0, and then we'll say, what is 2 times 4? That's 8. So we got a number 5 or greater, so we had to say, how many 5s go into 8? Well, that would just be 1. So 5 times 1 is 5, so we get to subtract a 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. This 3 represents our remainder. Now remember, the remainder, this value right here, is what we will write right here. And the whole number that we got from the division, the 1, is what we'll add to the next column. So let's cross these out since we're done with these. So we'll add this 1 to this column right here. And lastly, we get 2 times 1, which is 2, plus 1, which is 3. So we'll write a 3 right here. So remember, we don't have to do the division if we get a number that's less than 5. Okay, so the very last step is we're going to add these values. So let's see what we get. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 3 is 3. And 1 plus 3 is 4. So our final answer is 4, 3, 2. And we'll write a little 5 right here to indicate that it's a base 5 number. All right, let's try one more example. Let's say we have 213 times 24. How can we perform this multiplication? Well, we'll start with the 4 again. So we'll say 4 times 3, that's 12. So since it's 5 or greater, we have to ask ourselves how many 5s actually go into 12? Well, that would be 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So we get 12 minus 10 is 2. So this 2 is our remainder. So we'll say remainder 2. And remember, whatever we get as the remainder is what we write right here. The whole number that we get from the division, the 2, will be added to the next column. So now we get 4 times 1, that's 4, plus 2 is 6. So we have to ask ourselves, how many 5s go into 6? Well, just 1. So 1 times 5 is 5, so we subtract a 5, and we get 6 minus 5 is 1. So we get a remainder of 1. So this 1, this remainder is what we write right here, and the whole number that we got from the long division, the 1, gets added to the next column. All right, lastly, we have 4 times 2, that's 8, plus 1 is 9. So we'll say, how many 5s go into 9? That would be 1. So 1 times 5 is 5, so we'll subtract a 5, and we get 4. So our remainder is 4. So the remainder, this 4, gets written right here, and the 1 gets added to the next column over here. So notice we just bring this 1 down, and it lands right here. All right, next we'll add our placeholder 0. Okay, then we'll do 2 times 3, that's 6. So we have to ask ourselves, how many 5s go into 6? It looks like we already did this problem over here. So we got 1 with a remainder of 1. So we'll write our remainder 1 right here, and the whole number 1 that we got, okay, let's cross these out. The whole number 1 will get added to this column right here. All right, next we have 2 times 1, which is 2, plus 1 is 3. And lastly, we have 2 times 2, which is 4. So we'll put the 4 right here. So our final answer will just be adding these two rows together. So we get 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 plus 1 is 2, 4 plus 3 is 7. So since that's 5 or greater, we have to ask ourselves how many 5s actually go into 7. Well, that would just be 1. So 5 times 1 is 5, so we get to subtract a 5, and we get 2. So our remainder is 2. So the remainder, this 2 we'll write right here, and the whole number that we got, the 1, will get added to this next column over here. So we'll say 1 plus 1 plus 4, that's 6. So since it's 5 or greater, it'd say how many 5s go into 6? Well, we've already done this problem. We got 1 with a remainder of 1. So the remainder, the 1 goes right here, and the whole number, this 1 that we got from the division, goes to the next column, and then we have 1 plus nothing, which is just 1. So our final answer is 11222, and we'll write a little 5 next to it to indicate that it is a base 5 number.